Hi everybody, my name is William Michael Forbes, and I'm just waiting for my guest Ruth Kneider to come on board. And just gotta be turned slightly. Nobody's on yet. Okay, great, perfect. So now I'm centered in the camera. Woo! Hi there. Well, we've got people coming in now. Comments will appear here. Hello everybody. How you doing? Welcome. I'm just waiting for Ruth Kneider to arrive here. And the subject today is mediumship and improving the human condition. And Ruth has been a participant in a Mediumship 101 program, which I'm co-teaching, and is also going to be part of a program called Mediumship 102, which we will be running in the middle of February. But Ruth has some fascinating things to talk about, and I've been looking forward to doing this for quite some time. Hi, Ruth. I'm going to add Ruth in. Just a moment here. Okay, it says you're here, but okay, I've just sent you. You can request to be in the broadcast, Ruth. There, bring Ruth on camera. Here we go. Ruth is coming on now. Just adding her at the moment.
Hi.
Hi, Ruth. Thank you
I
so
made
much
it.
for joining me.
Yeah. Hello.
Crazy busy time for you, eh?
It's been it's been a very busy last week. Yeah.
I know your time is really. I want to say thank you very much for showing up today, because I know you're really pressed for time, and I'm very grateful that you're able to do this with us today. So I titled this today Mediumship and Improving the Human Condition. Because I believe that's what, when we start to tap into different aspects of ourselves, we can actually get more done. We can do more good. We can accomplish more. And I know you've been on a long path studying with Joe Dispenza and the work he's been doing with brain mapping and getting people to get out of their heads and into their hearts, right?
Yeah, that's right. I actually was asked to be a part of the brain team about a year and a half ago when Joe was in Bonn, Germany. And some of my colleagues who do neurofeedback were saying, Ruth, oh my gosh, we have 1,500 meditators. We don't have enough equipment. We don't have enough personnel. Please come and join us. And I did, and brought all my equipment and was measuring, we were measuring people meditating. And, me, the virgin meditator, I've never really done anything like that other than like a little bit of, mindfulness during a difficult time in my life. So when I was there, I was just so drawn into the meditation, like music, and it just felt like, I was going home. And yeah, got actually during one, some of my colleagues suggested, oh, Ruth, you're gonna love this breath. You've got to try it. And I'm like, but we're working. We can't do that. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. We all do it. Just try it. Oh, we know you. They know me from all these neurofeedback workshops. They're like, just try it. And I tried this special breath that was like pulling up the energy from your lower chakra areas, or as Joe would say, energy centers, because he doesn't like the word chakra. And then pulling it kind of down from the top. And the rest is history. I went off, and of course struggled to work for the rest of that day, because I had this amazing like energy like surging in my body. I didn't even have words for it at the time. Now I would say it was a massive kundalini, but at the time it was like the only words I might have had for it would have been like being baptized in the Holy Spirit or something of that sort.
Wow.
So that was my introduction to this kind of spirituality, and opened me to be really fascinated by anything spiritual and esoteric even, and all these kinds of things that I would not have been interested in before that
Wow.
with
So
my
this
science brain.
you lost your spiritual virginity then.
I did. I really did. I mean, to be honest, it was really like a sexual orgasm. It was a spiritual orgasm.
Yep.
I mean, I made tones that, were normally reserved for the bedroom. Um, and of course, but it was so divine and so, like indescribable, that sense of being home and, um, being so united with the divine, and just this overwhelming bliss and ecstasy and love, and it was really quite astounding.
How has that
Um,
impacted your life since you went into that state? How has that impacted the way you conducted your life since?
um, well, I mean, it took me some time to even get um, to make sense of what had happened to me there. So at first I was kind of a little bit disoriented, because my life had to kind of go on as a scientist and a neurofeedback therapist and all of this. Um, and I didn't have words for it. I I didn't I couldn't really fit it into the life that I was living. So it it took me about 6 months of reading, and I actually uh, I actually stumbled upon Cryon at that time, and that made a lot of sense to me because Cryon was channeling, um, Lee Carroll was channeling Cryon, who um, who has a pretty scientific take on things, and he was explaining. Um, this entity was explaining all kinds of things, magnetic and um, um, scientific, and about Tesla and all kinds of things that my brain um, needed to make sense of what had happened to me. And from so that was in the first few months after that, and then I started going to the Joe Dispenza workshops, and getting more deeply into meditation, and kind of um, yeah, discovering, um, yeah,
You had
um,
this huge emotional
deeper
opening.
kind of.
So you had this huge
Pardon?
emotional opening, and you had to bridge
Yes.
the left brain
Yeah.
knowledge with the right brain experience till they matched. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And of course, I'm so used. This is left. I think we're kind of turned around. So this is, yeah. My left side was like overworked, and my all of a sudden my right side was just so, you know, everything was about, and things weren't so much about logical thinking and sequential kinds of making sense of things, and it was so much more just knowing and the bigger picture, and yeah, global kinds of things, and love and bliss, and all these things that are just so right brained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I met you as a result of you connecting with a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Kristen Davies,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and she connected us together. And I mean, our first conversation that was like, it just blew my mind because it was like talking to somebody who actually understood everything I was saying for the first time.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, my in my work life, I put electrodes on people's heads, on their brains, and I train people to have more optimal brain functioning. And on top of that, I also do magnetic stimulation. So frequency and vibration and all this kind of stuff makes sense to me. Um, so when I work in psychiatry, so when children have attention deficit or depression, or any kinds of these difficulties, um, I'm giving them particular frequencies that actually help them heal. And with my other colleagues, we hang around and we play with our equipment. It's like toys for us.
Yeah, yeah.
And we put gamma on. We blast ourselves with gamma just to see what it would feel like. And of course, you kind of get a sense of what some of these beautiful states are like. So some of that I was doing beforehand, just, you know, with colleagues, because it's just kind of fun. We have the equipment, and, you know, so you just play around. So
So,
yeah,
so,
so
so
energy and magnetism and electricity and all this kind of stuff makes total sense to me, because that's my job.
now, when you're working, because now you brought up, with children with ADD, when you blast them with a certain frequency, do they go through an observable state change?
Um, yes. But okay, so I don't really blast them. It's just, it's little bits
I know what you mean.
of energy, and it's pulsed. You know, it's like this pulsation. Um, I give very really micro doses. So I probably shouldn't have said that. Um, yes, you do see some changes, but with kids, I'm not actually trying to help them get into some kind of ecstatic state. Um, that's more something that adults play around with.
Right.
Yeah.
So with adults, so now you alter your state. What has been the benefit you to in being able to alter your state? How has that helped you? Because I know you've gone through huge changes in the last year.
Yeah.
What benefit is it being able to alter your brain state?
Well, you mean with equipment or with
With
meditation?
both. I mean, with
Okay.
meditation, it should be different with both, right? What's the difference between those two?
Well, it's kind of similar. Um, okay, if I give myself gamma, um, you know, giving myself 40 to 80 hertz, um, it's, you know, it's a really high vibration, and that's a frequency that is a binding frequency in the brain. All kinds of synchronicities happen when you're in that kind of a high vibrational state, and you just kind of connect. It's like you don't have any boundaries with anyone. It's like you experience sort of pure love or unconditional love, and you don't have so much the sense of where you end and where the next person begins. Um, it's like, yeah, all these boundaries, they sort of disappear.
Right.
Um, so that's a lovely state, and, you know, I can train it in myself or in a, you know, in a colleague. Um, and when I meditate, um, I recognize that same state. But in meditation, one goes even deeper. You can access even, you know, more blissful states than what I am able to simulate with my equipment.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. That's been my experience too. In terms of like when I meditate, I've gone into the oneness and I talk to these other dimensional beings that show up because
Yes.
we see and hear so little with our ears and eyes relative to the spectrum that's available to us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Right.
I know what you mean. What have been some of your experiences with stepping out of normal three-dimensional reality through our senses when you go inside? Do you ever connect to beings or consciousnesses on a different level that you communicate with?
Um, Not really. Not really beings. I've my first experience with a, you know, an ET or a alien a few days ago. Really big eyes. Unfortunately, I wasn't in a lucid state, so you know, I wasn't able to communicate with that being, but it was there, and it was very. I was very aware of it. Um, no, usually in my meditation so far, I've been in very different states, like together with relatives or with ancestors, or with um, 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 or very kind of mystical kind of experiences together with an ascended being. But I haven't had experiences with extraterrestrials so far.
Wow, that's amazing.
We'll see.
That's amazing. Now, when you say, I know you've been really busy. You've been enrolled in the 101 mediumship course now for well, the whole course, almost a month now. And I know you've been really busy.
Yes.
But what have you gotten out of it so far? Like, what is really
Okay. Well, when I started the course, well, let me backtrack and say that when I had my experience in Bonn, you know, the Kundalini experience, at that point, I'm not sure I would have really taken much interest in angels or in ascended beings or anything like that.
right?
Um, and so, that's been a process to even find some of these things fascinating.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the mediumship course, I mean, my experience with cards was I had played a little bit with tarot cards and had seen that they actually gave me real answers, and so I was kind of intrigued by that. I mean, I grew up thinking that tarot cards were from the devil, and or at least being told that, or at least that they were a cult. So I was kind of like, ooh, I can't believe I bought these. Um, but yeah, they were giving me quite the answers and confirmations on questions I had, and so I was fascinated. And when I met Kristen Davies, I was intrigued by the way she was channeling, and yeah, so I bought my first deck of angel cards. And in the mediumship class, before that I was just like choosing cards, or letting them just sort of fall out. And the first thing that I learned in the class was to really trust my fingers to feel the energy of the cards. And I found that right away I could really trust that there was an energy difference in the cards that were meant to be pulled.
Yeah. So you can
Um,
feel a physical
and
change.
yeah, I could feel it, and that really surprised me. So that was like the first thing, and then that was like the first week, and then I was playing with that and seeing that it really was like the cards that I was pulling really made sense. And then after that, I would say in the second week, what was really amazing to me was when Kristen came on, and she I think it was called Sensing Energy,
Yes.
was the name of the video, and she was pulling in different entities, or different ascended masters. And this the that was like the first time I could not only feel energy. I mean, I felt energy before, but to feel energy changing. And she would pull in somebody, or someone would come in, and you'd feel that energy, and you'd experience it, and everybody was explaining how they were feeling it. That was so fascinating to me. And then a few minutes later, someone else would come in, and you'd feel something completely different. And that was the first for me, like, realizing that some of what I've been experiencing is just different energies.
Yeah.
And so after that, I began enjoying to ask this energy that was coming in, who are you? And I was realizing that I could have telepathic communication with energy. Um, and at first it was just yes, no. And at times, when I felt more connected, or, after a meditation or something, I was really feeling like there was a real conversation. Um, and yeah. So that was week 2. Week 3 has been a little bit tricky because I I've just been working so much, and I was away on the weekend, and so I've been struggling to keep up with the videos. But in week 3, I mean, I see this, for all of us taking this course. The course comes on top of your regular life, and it comes on top of all these other things that you're doing. And for me, when I started the course, I had just come from on the first weekend, I had been participating in a Joe Dispenza all-night meditation seminars, where um, we were meditating from 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning, being kept in kind of a wake, sleep, wake, sleep, wake, sleep state. We did 3 nights of that, plus other daytime meditations. And so I was on kind of a high going into the course. And 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 then, like, the second weekend in, I also was hanging out with another friend, playing with my toys and her toys, and we were playing around with past life regression, quantum healing. And so on top of all of this coursework, I was having all these other kinds of amazing mystical kinds of experiences and healing experiences. So it's kind of hard for me to tease out what was the mediumship course, what was something else, but I think that it all kind of compounds each other. And yeah, I don't think that I would have had the same kinds of experiences in either of those events had it not been for this course.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. There's a certain level of awareness you have to really know this. But I believe it's also something that we
Yeah.
taught because a lot of new people that are in the course that have never really, they've read about it, they've heard about it, they've never really experienced it, have come in and have actually started experiencing shifts in energy, connection to higher beings. And there's an actual
Yes.
process, a synergy that seems to be happening with the group that where people are actually opening up and awakening without having to go through what we
Yes.
went through or what I went through to have these incredibly illuminating
Yeah.
experiences and get here.
Right.
Now
Right.
you were also
Um,
the, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
You were also the first person that decided to enroll in the 102 course.
Really?
You were the first person enrolled.
Oh,
And, and, uh,
oh wow.
and the thing that fascinated me about me is because your work, I love Joe's work as well. And a lot of what I believe thoroughly in the elegant process of transformation, utilizing emotional energy as the tool for altering time, space, and matter and experience. I feel very strongly
Yes.
about that. And I have to ask, what, I think I talked to you briefly about what the 102 was, but what was it that I said to you that intrigued you enough that you'd want to join it?
Um, I would say it was the energy I felt when I saw you channeling Metatron and Archangel Michael.
Oh,
And I just had this knowing that it was real,
yeah.
and it resonated with me. And I just knew that I could learn something from you.
Wow. Well, it's not just from me, it's from these guys too, right? That, that's,
Yes.
that's the thing,
Yeah.
that's the thing that's
Well,
really fascinating for me is that there are these ascended beings that are around us all the time that if we alter the way we feel, we can tap in or tune into them at different times. And
yes.
yeah, that's the thing that's really
Yeah.
been exciting for me is like they're here all the time now. I can just say, "Come on in," and they'll talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and that is exactly what has happened to me through this course, and the other things that have been happening. When I came on the train back from the workshop with Joe, which was the first weekend that the course was running, I had this experience of like I had these prickles in my ear,
Mm,
like around my ear, for some time, but it was like this energy was circulating in this big area here, and I had the confidence through the course to ask, "Who are you? Come," and I felt like I narrowed it at least down to Archangel Michael or Jesus, and come in, and then I had this like full body kind of like energetic experience, and I mean that was so tremendous. I don't think that I would have trusted some of that energy in that way had it not been for the course.
wow,
um
thank you. Yeah,
and
I feel the same.
and and that kind of evolved into all kinds of like, basically now I feel like I can connect to Jesus or other ascended masters, just like that.
Yes.
And before this course I would have had to have gone into a meditative state first, and done an hour meditation in order to have that kind of energy.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Well, the 102, I know the 102 is following right on the heels of the 101, and there's just four primary areas we're going to be covering in it that I just want to mention. Staying in the present moment. What are your thoughts on the value in staying in the present moment?
It's all that we ever have, right?
Yeah.
The past is history, the future isn't now. um it's it's the only it's the only thing we have to live. So why live in the past? That's just depression, and living in the future is anxiety. So
Yeah.
let's live in love. That's the present moment.
So tell me what would you like? So being in the present is crucial to being able to connect. It's been my experience. Being in the present moment is crucial to being able
Yes.
to connect in the moment. Correct?
Absolutely. I mean, one can't connect if you're thinking about your grocery list, or how you're going to react to your ex, or you know, how you're going to get your raise from your boss. You have to let go and just love what is. accept whatever is in that moment and surrender to the higher, something higher than yourself.
So the inner work, like the second week in 102, we're going to be talking about breaking old habit patterns, old patterns that prevent us from being in the present moment. Did you have to let go of a lot of old stuff inside yourself, and how did you do that to make that shift into the present moment?
Okay, well, how much time do we have?
Whatever time we like today. This is it right here.
Okay, well, yeah, my biggest thing to let go of, I was in I was 23 years in a abusive relationship. So, there's been a lot of letting go, you know, of anger and resentment and what could have been, and, you know, all these kinds of things. And, um, yeah, that's been a process. And of course, with that, you know, I had some I had, you know, anxiety, and this is all, you know, past, but also some depression with that and all. So all of that had to go, and it doesn't go overnight. It goes in, you know, it's like peeling the layers of an onion. It you know, one part of it goes, and then the next part, and you let go as you can.
Do you believe it?
So yeah.
Do you believe quantum leaps are possible? Do you believe that you can make a quantum leap from attachment to all that stuff? There are ways of making a quantum leap?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think one of the biggest leaps that came for me in terms of letting go of this abusive relationship was my first longer meditation retreat, in which I had a meditation in which basically all my ancestors came, and it felt, you know, it was like they were all blessing me.
Yes.
And in that, then um, these kind relatives from my ex-husband also came into that meditation, and they were also, it was like this peace, you know, process, this peace making thing. And even those who were unkind, and unkind to my ex-husband, you know, from his family, they also came in, and it was just like this big, you know, forgiveness kind of experience. And I felt in that moment that like 500 years of of generational abuse was being healed in that moment.
Wow.
And so that was like the beginning of this process of letting go of these ties that weren't just this marriage, but were somehow, I think, linked to probably past lives and yeah,
Yeah.
generational trauma.
So
And
meditation was really important for you then. Like that meditation was crucial.
well, absolutely, because
Yeah.
otherwise you don't go into that state. Otherwise, your thinking mind is just is too active, and doesn't really allow you to surrender deeply enough to let go of some of this stuff. This last weekend, playing around with this friend, she took me on a hypnosis, and during that, um, part of that, it's basically it's based on Dolores Cannon's work, and she at the end of the hypnosis sessions, she asked my higher self if there was anything that needed healing, and very strange that basically all these things that came up were all on the left side. My ankle, an old ski injury. My knee, an old ski injury. A broken tibula fibula, an old ski injury. It all on the left side. My hip, which probably is related to some of that, an old injury left side. And then, you know, from my brain mapping, I know that there's some little goofy things here on the left side of my brain, word finding problems, and so some goofy things. And I could feel the energy all up and down my entire body, but only on the left side and my right toe. It was like, you can't make this stuff up. And that just that was, you know, she wasn't doing anything. It was the higher self. I was in a deeper state. It was the higher self saying, all right, we're going to heal. And in that moment, you know, I think because of the course, my higher self called in Jesus, called in Archangel Michael and said, oh, and we need the healer, we need Raphael. And the gal who was doing this, she was like, oh my God, I've never felt this much energy. She was just like, she actually had to back away. She was like, oh my gosh, like, oh.
Yeah, I love when they come in like that, because you do feel them. You actually physically feel them.
Yeah. And so here we were, my entire left side of my body was full of amazing energy. Everybody, you know, all this stuff was happening, was changing, moving. And yeah, that went on for, I don't know, it was like, it felt like maybe 20 minutes. And then she said, well, are there any ties to your past? Or is there something that, you know, are there some cords that need to be cut? And sure enough, the higher self said, oh yeah, to her ex, you know. And in came Archangel Michael, because he has a sword, and he's like cutting. And I mean, I could feel that. It was like this mesh of like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a mesh of entanglement.
Wow.
But it was all on the left side, you know, the divine feminine.
Wow.
And he, you know, the Archangel Michael came in. I didn't see him, but I felt it all with a sword and cut it all. And okay, so the really interesting part of that is that, okay, it's been 10 years since I left my husband. In the last several days, it pretty much right after that happened, my daughter, who was wanting to move to her dad's, because it was just kind of convenient and he has a bigger place, she got into a horrible fight with him, and he says, no, you can't move in with me. And it's like all the energy, I guess maybe all the energy that was still stored in me, or the entanglement,
Yep.
was cut, and he didn't know what to do with it. And he burst out against the children, and basically now all 3 children don't speak with him because of that, because they saw.
That's a very powerful process, being able to tap into emotions you've been holding on to and just give them back.
Yeah. And the interesting part of it is that they all want, you know, to have conversations with me about what is a narcissist, and why doesn't daddy react in a normal way, rationally, to, you know, to our concerns. And, you know, for the first time, you know, they're 18, 20, and 20, or 18, 20, 18, 21, and 23. And like for the first real time with several of them, the first real time to really talk, adult talk about how this all works, you know, from a
Have you included
psychiatry point of view.
Have you included them in some of the spiritual journeys you're on now?
Well, I sort of drop hints every now and then, like, you know, the night that, it was like the second night after getting back from the Dispensa workshop, when Jesus was just like in my bed, like body slamming me.
Yeah.
It was so wild.
Yeah.
That there's this really, I woke up at 2 a.m. and I had this energy, and I knew it was Jesus, and I was like, okay, you know, whatever, you know, let's talk or whatever. And I just had this, it was like he gripped my leg, and it was where I broke it as a 10-year-old, a nasty break. It was a skiing accident back in the days when we had leather shoes. So both bones were cut, you know, completely above the boot. It was back in the days when the boots were were way shorter. And, you know, I couldn't walk on it for 6 months. And I never loved running after that, you know. As a 10-year-old, you know, you kind of want to run. So yeah, and I don't know, 20 minutes, maybe even longer, there was this gripping energy. You know, I didn't ask for that. That was amazing. But when that happened, I dropped it on my.
He knew.
Pardon me?
He knew it was needed.
Yeah, yeah, and it's probably why, you know, I have a hip pain, or, you know, it's probably related to some other things. And so, you know, my 18-year-old who has all these accidents because he's a real sporty guy. Yeah, I just mentioned, oh, by the way, you know, I had this spontaneous healing last night in the middle of the night.
Wow.
And he's like, wow. Mom, you're doing wild stuff.
Yeah. That's great that they're open up.
Yeah,
But yeah, you kind of feed them tidbits until they begin to really conceptualize it.
right.
You find the younger ones get it easier than the older ones?
Actually, my oldest is probably the most open now. He actually has started meditating just because his friends are into it.
Yeah.
He's 23, and that's pretty exciting. I try not to encourage it too much because you know how that works when you're a mom and you encourage things that you want to have happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a pretty interesting story about that. He when I was at my first Dispensa workshop, somebody said, "Oh, by the way," it was one of these healers. Um, at that time, I didn't really know what that was all about. And he was like, "Oh, your son Matthew, he got stuck, in the birth canal." I'm like, "How do you know that?" He was like, "Oh, I can read it."
Yeah.
And in that moment when he said that, all of a sudden I had this tingling from my waist down and from my arms, from my elbow down. And I'm like, "Oh, what's happening now? Am I healing him?" He's like, "No, you're not healing him. He's pulling his energy back because he got stuck in the birth canal. He didn't want to come into this life. He knew that your husband was abusive, and he didn't really want to come in."
Yeah.
I'm like, "How
Wow.
do you know this?"
That's awesome.
He said, "How do you know this?" And he said, "Okay, well, now your son has all his energy back. He pulled it back out of you." Um, and that evening, he wrote me, or it was the next morning, no, I think it was that evening, he wrote me this note. I mean, he's not usually an emotional guy. He was like, "Mom, I'm really emotional. Like, I don't know what's going on with me."
Isn't that amazing?
And, you know, being the scientific mom that I am, I thought I'd just be funny and write him, "Oh, well, you just got a quantum healing. Never mind. That's just, part of it." And of course, he didn't believe me. He wrote me back saying, "Mom, you're crazy."
Just wait until he reads a few more books, right?
Exactly. But yeah, he's open to it now.
Yeah.
He knows that that Mom's a little nuts, but he trusts it.
Yeah. Yeah. During the 102, there'll be meditation building up from 20 minutes in the first week to 80 minutes by the fourth week.
Oh, I love it.
And we're taking people on that whole arc because each week is designed to fit into each other. Because I believe, like you, I believe that meditation really is the fundamental key for personal transformation and connecting with our spiritual teams, and connecting to any part of,
Absolutely.
yeah, and then being able to connect to any part of the infinite intelligence to work with it,
Yeah.
including the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also believe that the longer the better. I mean, I feel that I don't want to get up from a meditation until I feel like I'm transformed,
Yes.
until I feel the bliss and the joy of life.
Yeah.
And if I haven't gone deep and if I haven't gone long enough or deep enough, I'd rather stay in the meditation until I've reached that point.
Yeah. I find the same thing. I find the same thing. I'm in a meditation. I have to know that my state has changed. As long as I feel the change,
Yes.
that I'm in a higher state than I was when I started, I can move forward with that. And that's the goal of meditation. Always to take you slightly higher, slightly higher, slightly higher.
Yes.
Till you are blissed out.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that. So yeah, we're doing parts work. Breaking free of old patterns is our second week. Creating a new blueprint or a new feeling state for the future, right? Because the minute you change what you feel, what happens?
The minute you what?
The minute you change what you feel, what happens?
Oh. You get more full energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you feel really free and full of love, and your heart chakra just goes, and yeah.
You can create different things from that state than you can from fear, uncertainty, depression. You create very differently, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, fear just breeds more, fear and sadness and lower vibrational stuff.
Yeah.
When you can get to the heart energy, you're creating, mystical and mystical things, and you're you're able to tap into healing, you know, the energy for healing and for, you know, for bringing the kinds of things that you really desire for your future, you know,
Now, when you say heart,
happiness.
do you mean heart in terms of synchronizing the heart and the brain into a unified whole?
Yeah, but I mean, I think, you know, alone, just if your heart chakra or your energy center is just like bursting, you know, that's, you know, when the energy comes up from the lower energy centers, from, you know, your root and your sacral and your solar plexus, and you know, you have this energy surging in your heart, and you're just open, and it's from there, it has to go up or out your hands to heal. I mean, it can't go any other place other than up. And so the trick, I think, is to get out of, I mean, to be rooted and grounded and all that in your lower three energy centers. But once you have that energy, at least in your heart, you know, the magical things start happening. You can tap into, into, yeah, these amazing
We'd spoken about,
states.
we'd also spoken, you and I, about how human consciousness was capable of affecting the planet, the electrical field, the magnetic field of the planet. Do you think that changing people's consciousness in terms of connecting to higher energies and frequencies, we can actually change and alter the structure of the Earth's magnetic field and actually improve the quality of the way the planet works?
Absolutely. I can't wait to hear you channel about it.
I'll definitely be channeling about it. I know that there's going to be something coming out this week. They've said that, and they said
Oh,
humanity's
excellent.
at that place. Humanity's at the place where it has to choose now. Choose
Okay.
higher or lower. Lower is a reset.
Oh, wow.
Lower is a reset. Higher is a transformation. And that transformation includes the stability, the homeostatic stability of the Earth's magnetic field and its relationship to the other planets.
Woo!
Yeah. So that's very exciting. And,
Love it.
and I think we're all, our community is all part of that whole project of stabilizing.
And
yeah.
yeah, and it's all about each one of us doing our part to raise, you know, raise our vibration to connect to coherent love, oneness, unity, you know, to make that happen.
Mm. Now, you know the research that was done on the yogis when in Washington, D.C. many years ago. It's often quoted in forums like this, where they came and they meditated for 3 days.
Yes.
And the crime rate dropped down by 27% over that 3 days.
Yes.
Do you think that it has to be 1,000 yogis, or could, say, 500 people affect an even greater change with a full awareness of that ability?
Well, let me talk about my experience with Joe Dispenza and the workshops there, because we typically in these workshops there will be at least 900 and as much as 1,500 people.
Yes.
All meditating together, all in, you know, at least by several days in, most people in a synchronous heart kind of energy, you know, heart coherence, and oh my goodness, magical things happen. Like really magical. The kinds of healings that you just know from New Testament times, like seriously.
And we've actually seen some of those happen in the course. Some people have had things like that physically happen during the course too.
Wow, that's great. And so yes, I do believe that it takes the synchrony of many hearts, raising vibration together. It has an exponential effect on everybody.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, Jesus was quoted to have said, "When two or more gathered together, I am present." And now you've done the research, so you know that scientifically, when two energy fields that are in coherence merge, they don't just double; they amplify to like cube or greater, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they do. They amplify.
Yeah.
And you know, even when we are in coherence, like just from me, okay, I like to take my equipment with me to these meditation seminars, and I measure myself before, in middle, and after. even when I'm not like in some super wild like state, you know, of gamma or something, just before and after a workshop, I will have 12 standard deviations more alpha than is normal.
Yeah.
And so that's
Can you explain what
alpha.
Can you explain what 12 deviations means so people can comprehend that?
Oh,
I know that.
okay. So, okay. Back to statistics. Remember in high school, everybody knows about the bell curve, right?
Yeah.
That you have this, you know, um, the mean is, you know, within one standard deviation are 70% or almost 70% of all people. Within two standard deviations are 85 or so percent. And within three, well, we're getting off the picture. Within three is almost everybody. And so if you compare my alpha, which is like the 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 brain waves that are present when you're just really when you let go and you're just really kind of relaxed and open. So when I come out of a meditation weekend, I have 12 times what's normal.
Wow.
So that's just exponential, because everything in the brain um, um, is synchronized, and so the energy of it is just, you know, exponential. Um, it's like all stacked on top of each other.
So
and then you can,
right. So it's the coherent synchronicity of both sides of the brain with the heart that
yes,
cause that effect.
yes,
Is that correct?
yes, yes, yeah, it is. Uh-huh. I mean, Heart Math Institute, some of you may know about it. It's they do a lot of work with heart rate variability, and basically, when we slow our breathing down, I breathe much slower, like about, you know, 6 breaths per minute, or 5 to 6 breaths per minute. Our hearts get more, they vary, they get faster and slower in this way that creates a kind of heart-brain synchrony, and makes us more open, more loving. So I mean, a simple little thing like just breathing slowly.
Yes.
Like what you do there are actually simple apps to learn how to do that.
Yes.
Breathing slowly at 5 to 6 breaths per minute, and you will enter this state. If you do that over a period of time, you'll enter this beautiful state of love. It's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, no, I totally understand that, because I do that every day when I meditate. I go into that state, and it's actually just starting out learning how to do that breathing can actually throw people into that state. Just the identification with the rhythm that's synchronized organically, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're going to have a lot of people get into that as we do through the meditations in the first, second, third, and fourth week. That hopefully spontaneously happen for it's natural. You can't stop it once you start doing it.
It is. No, you can't. You can't. Yeah, and it just once you reach that state, it also you go deeper and deeper into it, if you stay with it. It's nice.
I'm almost tempted to get a T-shirt that says, "If you breathe, you will get enlightened."
Well, if you breathe slowly.
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Breathe slowly, you will become enlightened. I'll throw that in. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to doing this course. It's it's been a long time coming. We're really excited about having you in it, and many others have already signed up for the course. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to it.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. In what way are we going to be diving deeper into kind of the channeling mediumship kinds of themes?
I'm really glad you asked that question. All of the practice channeling that's going on right now in the 101 will be carried forward into the 102.
Wow.
So people will continue that practicing in the 102. What we're doing is we're doing the deeper emotional work, plus the meditation, plus releasing emotional ties. You can call Michael and work with your guides and angels more extensively with that deeper awareness. And so it'll be carried on. And then the breathing, meditation, releasing the blocks, the inner work that you do, and then getting to a place where you start to manifest and generate a new vision for your life, a new feeling vision for your life.
Okay, great.
That works all synergistically together to take people to that new place that we're all in naturally anyway, but to become conscious of it. Does that answer your
Wow.
question?
Yes, yes, it does. Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm excited. It's, like I said, vibration too. When you understand, like even now as we speak back and forth, we are transmitting frequencies through these electronic devices. But
Yeah.
there are also sub frequencies and higher frequencies that when you know what you know, you can actually transmit higher frequencies through as a carrier wave to others. And so you can
Yes.
impact and alter people regardless where they are just by altering your own frequency. So everybody listening out
Yeah.
there might be feeling a little tingling going on, or a little excitement as we speak these words, predominantly because they're picking up that wave. They're picking up
Yeah.
that frequency.
Yeah.
And so we're using a lot of that understanding too, that we know that we know that we do this. So yeah,
Yeah.
and everybody else is doing it too, whether they're conscious or not. Everybody's doing it all the time.
Yeah.
But wow.
Hmm.
Where are we at time-wise? I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Wow, it's been almost an hour. Almost an hour. It's amazing. You know,
Oh my goodness.
this is the second this has been a real privilege. This is twice I've gotten to go live with you in the last month, and we've had some great conversations on the phone. But I want to thank you so much for coming out today. If you could say anything to anybody about what taking the course would mean to them, what would it be?
I think, each of us get out what we put in. And if and we are each going to get the next step that we need in our journey.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. Trust that these courses, trust yourself to to be able to grow and develop in the courses. Let go, surrender. I think it's just amazing what can happen when a group of people get together to grow and develop in this way, and we all are going to get something out of it that we can't possibly imagine is going to be coming our way.
So
I am so eternally grateful to have connected to to ascended masters.
Yes.
And to have a sense of who it is and what this energy means. And something kind of personal. My dad died a few years ago. He was almost 97, and in the last few days I've sensed his energy, and it was this amazing kind of loving energy around me. And 2 days ago my mom died, and she was almost 95, and I'm feeling her energy.
Wow.
Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It is amazing.
And it's so comforting. I haven't had conversations with her yet, but I feel her energy. When I ask her, to come by, she's there.
Yeah.
And so's my dad.
Yeah.
Wow. Can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I mean, I've had Norma's mom come to me, and people from other people I do readings for, that people, as soon as they just come when you ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Yeah.
Anybody out there who wants to join in the 102 course, I just want you to know that it's being held not at Intuitive Angel Messages. It'll be held at Soul Evolution, Growing a Better Humanity is the group page, and you can come join that group page, and we'll be hosting a group. It starts on the 16th of this month, February, and we'll run to the 16th of March. And the cost is only $99, so please come and join us. I mean, you got amazing beings like Ruth here, and many, many others, and we'd welcome you all in there. Any last thoughts, Ruth?
No, just let's do it. Let's raise the roof off of
That's inevitable.
off of the world. Let's raise our energies together. The more the merrier. Yeah. Let's do it.
One of my favorite sayings is,
come join the love bomb.
Absolutely.
We'll love bomb each other.
Absolutely. You got it. Send them one your way right now.
Yeah.
Got it. Lots of love, hon. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate it, guys. Take good care.